Hello and welcome back to live coverage of the Apex Gaming $5,000 Modern Open here in sunny Caldwell, Ohio at the Apex Gaming home store. I'm Todd Tandy Anderson, joined by Ross Merriam. Say hi, Ross.
Hi, Ross.
We are 3 rounds done out of 7. 4 more Swiss to go and top 8 all coming at you today. So get comfy. We're going to be here for a while. Ross, for round number 4, we got 2 heavy hitters in the feature match area. Why don't you tell us what decks they're playing?
Yeah, really starting to pare down this field. These two players are both 3-0, so one more win, and they're knocking on the door of the top 8. We have Chris Hafner playing Ruby Storm against Nick Cowden playing Domain Zoo. Interesting matchup because Domain Zoo has this great combination of pressure and disruption, which is that what you want against a combo deck. However, the mana base can sometimes make things a little awkward, and especially if Cowden's on the draw, if he has to deploy creatures on turns 2 and 3, the Storm deck can kill very quickly.
I agree. And, honestly, Storm, kind of a nightmare in general. Can just kill you on turn 2 pretty regularly. And, that existing is terrifying. And for decks that have some disruption and pressure, it can be easy sometimes. But if you don't draw the right combination of cards or you're just a little bit too slow, Storm will bite you.
So the cards that are going to be critical for Cowden here are 1, Ragavan Nimble Pilferer. A turn 1 Ragavan represents not only pressure on Hafner's life total, it also represents a ton of extra mana from the treasures, and that's going to allow Cowden to curve out with his threats while also leaving up mana for appropriate interaction. The other key card is going to be Leyline Binding. Normally, the Ruby Storm deck takes advantage of the fact that one of its cost reducers, Ral, is a creature, the other one, Ruby Medallion, is an artifact, and there's not many cards that can answer both.
Yes.
And so your opponent is left hoping that they've drawn the answer to the cost reducer that you've drawn.
Yeah.
Leyline
Often
Binding,
they need to be instant speed oftentimes too because they play the cost reducer and a bunch of rituals and kill you all in the same turn.
Leyline Binding is instant speed and answers both.
Yeah.
So it's a great card for Cowden to have. Stubborn Denial, also excellent. So if you can find the right parts of his deck, this could be a very easy matchup. But if he draws a lot of Doorkeeper Thralls and Flages, the matchup gets a lot harder.
All right, so that's the matchup. Cowden on Domain and Hafner on Storm. They're ready in the feature match area, so let's head on down for round number 4. It's going to be Cowden, Pretty Boy on your left, Hafner on your right, and we're underway. Turn 0 Leyline of the Guild Pack now. All the lands are turned on. This is a fetch land, but guess what? It's a rainbow land as well. Here's Ragavan.
Yeah, so turn 0 Leyline, turn 1 Ragavan is the absolute ideal start for Nick here. And has a Scion of Draco as a follow-up.
And has haste on it as well with Arena of Glory. This is a very common play pattern and start for these decks. And wow, what a blisteringly fast start. Plus, Ragavan making a treasure as well. Hafner already under the gun.
Because of the Leyline, all of his creatures are going to get the buffs from Scion of Draco, which includes Vigilance for white. That's why the creatures didn't tap there. And it Past in Flames, the exile from the Ragavan trigger. Looking at Hafner's list,
We got plenty.
I see 3 copies of Past in Flames, so still 2 left in the deck there.
Can Wish find things in exile or only from out of the game?
Only from out of the game.
Okay. All right, Hafner gonna surveil and keep on top. Let's see if we got fireworks this turn. Cowden has a lightning bolt, but if we have Ruby Medallion, which is the one, maybe we're gonna get him.
Yeah, so Cowden in that awkward squeeze where his removal spell is the one that doesn't answer the cost reducer that Hafner drew. And then the rest of Cowden's hand, for as good as his start has been, is not very good. So he's going to attack for 6, put Hafner to 7. There's 1 Grape Shot on the main, but there's 2 wishes, so...
Can still win very easily.
I wouldn't be... Is this...
Can we go Bolt Grape Shot?
There's
That's
only... There hasn't
5?
been any spells, so it's only going to be 5.
Dang.
Still might want to do it if Hafner's next land is a Sacred Foundry. And Cowden is thinking about that, whether it's something he wants to do.
Yeah, I would have maybe liked a Grape Shot for 1.
Oh, he has a Kavu, so...
Okay, we're going to play the Kavu out, and we're going to pass the turn. So Hafner with Storm, we might see a pretty long turn here. Hafner going to pull out his sideboard or his tokens because now it's time for the combo. And we see this a lot in the older formats where one player dominates the battlefield with a bunch of random creatures and other permanents, and then the Storm or other combo player just kills you in one fell swoop. And here's the start. Desperate Ritual, 3 mana. Storm count 1. Here's Glimpse. Top 3 coming. Another ritual.
Two desperate ritual and 2 Rens resolves.
Hafner playing this cleanly.
So very good hits off the Glimpse of the Impossible. First Rens resolve hits Manamorpho's second Glimpse. Now Manamorphos will net a mana because of the Ruby Medallion cost reduction and net Hafner a card. Here's second Glimpse, 1 red floating. Now we hit Ral, Pyretic Ritual, Wooded Foothills. Wooded Foothills is land for turn.
Gonna go ahead and fetch for probably basic mountain. My guess is we're gonna play Ral for 1, and then we're gonna play some spells. Cowden might respond with a bolt on the Ral, but if Hafner has another instant, he might be able to flip it in response, and that'll negate the lightning bolt.
So right now there have been 6 spells cast this turn, all the instants and sorceries in Hafner's graveyard.
Yep, and he's compensating for Storm and for Ral right now. So Ral's at 6 triggers, and Storm's at 7, now 8.
Hafner here very wisely playing the Ren's Resolve after the Ral, not the Pyretic Ritual, because Pyretic is an instant and can respond to a removal spell. And Cowden has to realize it's probably not getting better for you. If Hafner completely bricks on this Ren's Resolve, then maybe you can kill the Ral because Hafner's forced to cast the Pyretic.
Yeah, I think
actually,
it's 50-50 no matter what, right? If you do it now, but it's 50-50 that the Ral flips in general, right? When you just flip a coin. So if he responds now, the Desperate Ritual turns it into a 50-50 again. If he lets the Ren's Resolve go right now, there's no mana floating, and there's only 1 mana up. And so when he goes for the Desperate Ritual, he'll have perfect information, and he'll be able to bolt down the Ral. So I would wait for 1.
But the issue is there's a trigger for the Ral from the Ren's Resolve. So if you let this trigger resolve...
Yes, you let that one resolve.
But if Hafner wins the flip, he's just going to transform it.
Well, what are you supposed to do? He's going to win if he wins the flip on the bolt as well, or the Desperate Ritual as well.
I suppose it's just a 50-50 either way.
Yeah.
Well, the Ren's Resolve completely bricked, and Hafner lost the flip.
Okay, so we're going to go for Desperate Ritual, and now.
By the way, another reason for Cowden to have just sent all the burn spells upstairs, because then the Ral flips could just kill Hafner.
Good call. Maybe that was worth. It would have just invalidated it almost entirely.
Okay. So Hafner forced to play the Pyretic Ritual, and now Cowden kills the Ral in response. Hafner has 3 red in pool, and no relevant cards in exile, just 2 lands that he can't play. What's left in the hand to keep this turn going?
Yeah, I mean, this is not a deterministic kill, the Ruby Storm deck. It's often a lot of wild mage magic, right? Top 2 cards, top 3 cards, ritual, Past in Flames. A little bit of disruption here and there can sometimes break it up, and sometimes it just falls on its face. Okay. But we're not done yet.
Here's a Reckless Impulse.
Spell number
2
10.
red. 10s.
Oh, spell number 11 from Storm. And we find more rituals. Artist Talent as well can maybe turn some dead lands in hand into something useful.
Yeah, so Hafner might have wanted to Artist Talent first.
Maybe he doesn't want to talent at all. Maybe he has other plans.
So up to 4 and has the Past in Flames. Yeah, exactly.
That's
Didn't
Wish.
want to talent. Oh, that's Wish. Okay.
Wish with 2 floating.
Cowden's life total is very high because all his creatures had lifelink.
Oh, right. And now it's Breach, and then Breach with plenty of material. It's a much cheaper version of Past in Flames when we're at this juncture. And so now we can go Ritual, Grape Shot, Ritual, Wish, Grape Shot, something like that.
So, yeah, Escape, Pyretic Ritual. Can also, after this Pyretic Ritual, can play the Artist Talent, and then the Artist Talent will keep adding fuel to the graveyard for the Underworld Breach.
Interesting. We'll see if it's necessary, but I have a feeling we're just going to go for a Wish here pretty soon. But our graveyard is already pretty stocky.
So Hafner needs to get to 15 Storm before 2 Grape Shots, because then he does 16 plus 17 is 33.
Oh, right. I didn't even consider Cowden was at such a high life total from the lifelink on the Scion of Draco. Another ritual here. Interesting. I do think that you're right. He definitely should have played the Artist Talent before casting any of these rituals with that floating mana. He would have 3 more cards in the graveyard already, which is 1 more spell. Oh, he's doing it now. Okay, so compensating for the previous potential error.
Missed, I think, just 1 talent trigger.
Okay, so casting, I believe that was a Ren's Resolve, but maybe it was
now
the
Manamorphose.
Okay.
Discards a Wooded Foothills to the Artist Talent. Makes 2 red for the Morphos, draws another card.
Strike it
rich. That's perfect. We'll trigger talent again. Discard Valakut Awakening. Make a treasure.
I think at this point we have enough to... Oh, maybe we need one more ritual or something.
So I think this is fine because you wish, exile 3 cards, then you Grape Shot from without having to exile because that's being cast off the wish, and then you just need 1 more escape. So you just need 6. You just need 5 cards in your graveyard other than the wish.
Okay, and 2 for wish.
Because you could exile the wish to the escape for the 2nd and lethal Grape Shot.
All right.
So.
And wish resolves. Sideboard reveals Grape Shot. Spin 1 for Grape Shot. Spin 1 for Grape Shot. GG. Chris Hafner with Storm takes game number 1 in explosive fashion on turn number 3. Cowden with one of the better draws I've seen out of Domain, and it was just not enough to beat the turn 3 kill.
Yeah, could have gone for the Grape Shot bolt line, put you to 2.
Yep.
And then the Ral
is dangerous.
Yeah, would have been dangerous. That said, Hafner ended up losing the Ral anyway and comboing through it, so he likely could have comboed without ever casting the Ral. It just, was unfortunate for Cowden. He had the pressure. He had what he would hoped to be a piece of disruption in that lightning bolt, but the way that Hafner's draw was, because he had Ruby Medallion instead of Ral, the bolt wasn't a piece of disruption, and he lost the race by just a turn.
All right, as these players are reaching for their sideboard, let's start with Nick Cowden's Domain aggro strategy. Ross, give me your best approximation of what you think Cowden's going to be sideboarding here.
So, his sideboard is 2 Angel's Grace, 2 Consigned to Memory, 2 Rough Tumble, 2 Stony Silence, 2 Stubborn Denial, 1 Torpor Orb, 3 Wear Tear, and 1 Wrath of the Skies. Certainly, the extra Stubborn Denials will come in. There's 1 in the main deck. He's going to want all 3 of those in his deck after sideboarding. Beyond that, it gets somewhat tough. There's not any direct graveyard hate, which is normally one of the better ways to combat Ruby Storm.
Yeah, either rest in pieces or whatever.
Yeah. Will likely bring in the Wear Tears just to have more answers to Ruby Medallion. Can also answer Artist Talent with that, or Underworld Breach that gets wished for. But he does also have Leyline Binding, so that it'll be a question on how many such cards he wants in his deck. The Tribal Flames will certainly come out. Being sorcery speed, I think, makes them a liability. But his sideboard really isn't set up all that well for this matchup.
All right, on the other side of the table, Hafner up a game with Storm. This is a Wish sideboard, but any tools over there you think he might be bringing in or considering?
So Hafner's sideboard is 4 Prismatic Ending, 4 Orum's Chant, 2 Abrade, then 1 Brotherhood's End, 1 Empty the Warrens, 1 Grape Shot, 1 Pass in Flames, and 1 Underworld Breach. I suspect some number of the Prismatic Endings will come in. They're very good at dealing with early Ragavan. They can answer an early Kavu. They really just keep the pressure off of you. They're not good at answering Scion of Draco. So potentially not all 4. I can also see Orum's Chant coming in. That's their best answer to counterspells and Leyline Binding. It's Orum's Chant on the turn you're going to combo. So some combination of Prismatic Endings and Orum's Chants will likely come in. I could even see the Abrade. So Prismatic Ending deals with Kavu and Ragavan. Abrade deals with Scion of Draco and Ragavan.
Right, but it doesn't deal with Sign of Draco if the Leyline's in play. You have to take care of the Leyline first. I'm not sure if that's going to be as useful, but cheap interaction is good in general.
Yeah.
So.
The interesting thing here is a lot of Storm players have a mix of Prismatic Ending and Wear Tear. I think Wear Tear would be better in this matchup. It can answer Leyline Binding, Leyline of the Guild Pact, or Scion of Draco. But no copies of that here for Hafner.
All right, well, players are just about ready here, so let's head on down. Hafner is mulliganing to 6. Cowden has kept 7. And if he's keeping this one, we'll be ready to go. I want to say I was pretty impressed with Hafner's ability to keep up with all the micro stuff in the previous game. Seems like he's probably been playing this deck a lot lately.
Very clean Storm turn.
Wood of Foothills, here's Ragavan. No Leyline to start, so perhaps a Sign of Draco or something won't be as explosive. Elegant Parlor's the land for Hafner, but that means Ragavan's coming in.
It also means Hafner has to take that into account to his Surveil decision.
Yeah, probably just leave land on top or something.
Yeah, any card that he knows Cowden can't or won't want to cast.
How often would you not attack in that situation?
Valakut Awakening is a castable for Cowden, but probably not better than just deploying a Kavu here. Well, looks like it is a blue card. I can't tell if it's a Stubborn Denial or a Consigned Memory, though.
Hopefully get a better look soon. I'm going to
What?
quickly fetch, and here's Territorial Kavu. Let's get Territorial Kavu on the screen. I think this was from Modern Horizons 2. This green and red, but really a domain threat, harkens back to the Kavu of the original Invasion block. These creatures are from the Dominaria plane, and this one reminds me a lot of like the Tribal Flames and that domain stuff from that era, and this one is a really cool one.
Cowden being very careful with his fetch lands. The Wooded Foothills found Steam Vents in turn 1. Flooded Strand found Temple Garden. So has 4 types towards domain. The Kavu is a 4/4, and this is already a 3-turn clock. Should be a 2-turn clock with the other Kavu in hand, as long as Cowden can find a fetch for the 5th type.
Okay, here's Desperate Ritual, so we might be going for the kill now. Here's Ruben Medallion, but here's Consign, and that's going to stop it. And only 1 mana floating for Hafner. He's got to pass it back. So did the desperation attempt, but ultimately.
Okay, so it was Consigned to Memory. Now Cowden is without any disruption.
Oh, he's got a big attack and another Kavu, so Hafner's got to kill next turn probably.
Yeah, so I suspect this will be an it's Blood Crypt. Shock and Blood Crypt. Attack for 7. Try to loot into another piece of disruption. And then just deploy the other Kavu. And if you can find a Leyline Binding or a Stubborn Denial, you feel really good. And honestly, even without it, okay, Lightning Bolt could be relevant. You've already dealt with the Ruby Medallion.
Yeah, Lightning Bolt plays. Ooh, Ral off the top. Do we want to cast our own? Teehee?
I doubt it.
Is that Null Drifter?
It is a Null Drifter. That's a 1-of in the deck. Plays well with Consigned to Memory.
Oh, there's another thing it plays well with, too. The main deck Doorkeeper Thralls.
Yeah. Okay, well, Cowden going for a draw 2 here.
I guess drew a Bolt and a Path to Exile, so he's got Ral covered pretty handily.
I guess with the Bolt, he potentially has lethal next turn anyway.
Yeah.
He's trying to find another piece of disruption.
Hafner going to play Manamorphose here. Usually that's a sign of weakness. But probably just needs some sort of cost reducer. Maybe just missing 1 piece. Gonna cycle another Manamorphose.
So red likely in pool here. Unless there's a prismatic ending planned for Hafner. Goes for a Ral.
Alright, and says go, and Cowden doesn't bite. Just gonna untap. Try to go for the kill. We have 2 bolts in hand.
2 bolts is lethal, so clear the Ral out of the way. Attack for 7. And just in case Hafner has something to stave off death, let's resolve the Kavu trigger, maybe find another piece of disruption.
Alright, and that's it. Bolt finishes him off, and we're on to game number 3. Hafner's Ruby Storm deck didn't quite get there this game. The very, very fast start from Cowden with just a little bit of disruption. That's all it takes.
Yeah, and there you see the difference. His draw was actually slightly slower than in game 1, but his Consigned to Memory landed and his Bolt landed, whereas in game 2, whereas in game 1, the Bolt was irrelevant.
Right.
And so just having that 1 to 2 pieces of disruption makes such a huge difference. That's why you need the mix. All disruption, no pressure. The Storm deck has too much time to grind through it all. All pressure, no disruption. They're fast enough to easily race you.
All right, well, these players are shuffling up here for game number 3, so I'd like to take this time to say thank you to the sponsors for ApexCon and this weekend's events. We are sponsored by Moxfield. Moxfield.com is a great place to build and share deck lists with your friends. Once Upon a Galaxy is a mobile game that we're partnering with. You can find it on your app store. It's a free-to-play auto battler, asynchronous, so you can play anytime you want. Really, good timing of games, only about 10 minutes long, and a lot of fun. If you are a fan of auto battlers of any kind, I highly recommend it. We're also sponsored by Spice Rack GG. Spice Rack's a great place to find a tournament near you or to run tournaments yourself. And last but not least, we're sponsored by Ultimate Guard, the industry leader in TCG supplies.
Players drawing their hands here for game 3, and this is the first game that Hafner has the privilege of being on the play. And that is a big deal. It puts even more pressure on Cowden to have a strong opening. He's had turn 1 Ragavan each of the first 2 games, and I think he's going to need it a 3rd time here if he wants to take down this match.
Well, he's only got 3 Ragavan, right?
He has 3, so about It's like 33%-ish to have it.
So far, he's 100% to have it. Wonder how Mulligan's change it. Get out your geometric calculators. There he is. All right. This looks like a pretty good 6. I'm curious exactly. Would you side out the ley lines in matchups where your opponents aren't killing your stuff? Is that a thing?
Not in a matchup where leyline binding is so important. You need to make your leyline bindings cheap early in this matchup.
All right, well, Hafner going to be on the play here. It leads off with Mountain. And Cowden starts with the ley line of the Guild Pact in play.
So this could be a strike it rich from Hafner, which potentially threatens a turn 2 kill.
Yeah, it's a ritual, but it's not. It's like a slow ritual.
And I do see the Ragavan once again for Cowden, but looks like he is going to just pass the turn and try to defend against a potential turn 2 kill.
I think that's smart. You know, Hafner pretty quickly kept 7. It does mean that like you're not putting pressure for a turn, but if all you do is just like wait 1 turn and then just essentially float for the next 2 or 3 turns where you're lagging a mana behind to hold up Leyline Binding or similar.
This may also be a situation where Cowden wants to dash the Ragavan to also protect it from a potential prismatic ending.
Okay.
Fetches for a Lush Portico. Doesn't need the mana since the Leyline makes his lands every type, but does still want to surveil.
All right, leaves on top, so must be a good one. Ooh, a stubby D. All right, I imagine we'll see Ragavan here.
I don't see another big creature. I see Null Drifter. I see Stubborn Denial. I see the Consign. So could potentially set himself up with the Null Drifter with Consign, but he's going to need a lot more mana for that. It's 4 total mana to keep the Null Drifter around, and then you still want to have mana up to disrupt Hafner.
Hafner going to start by sacking this treasure token. Interesting. We're going to play Ral. If he's sacking the treasure, it means he's probably just trying to kill here, huh?
Can you tell what the white card in Cowden's hand is?
Leyline Binding.
It is a Leyline Binding?
Yeah, he's got like Stubby D, Binding, Consign.
Null Drifter.
Yeah, that's what I read. All right, here's Pyretic, and Cowden might bite here. Leyline Binding. Storm count goes up. And Ral gets targeted. In response, we're going to play another ritual.
Hafner, of course, wants to wait until the ability is on the stack, because if he transforms Ral while the Leyline Binding, the spell is on the stack, Cowden can just target the Planeswalker.
Right.
So.
All right, so Ral going to deal damage to Hafner.
Looks like Hafner is taking even on these rolls.
All right, now Binding will resolve.
Well, he could still play more instants here to try to protect the Ral.
Good call. Yeah, he had
Looks like he doesn't have another one.
So up to 5.
Cowden's Binding works.
But 5 mana floating, shields are down. If he has a Medallion or another Ral, he can just keep going easily. Passing with 5 floating is crazy. Please don't do that. Oh my, striking it rich. That's a sign of weakness here. It looks like Hafner's going to be done after that. Otherwise, he would have played a bunch of like card draw effects and stuff too.
Ooh. Oh, we needed white mana for the prismatic ending. Okay.
Okay.
So answers the Ragavan, but nothing else. And generally speaking, the Storm deck is not the one that wants to trade resources like that. Now Hafner's down to 2 cards in hand. Could be tough for him to rebuild.
Yeah, but you do need the cost reducer usually to be able to physically win the game. And when the Ral was gone, I think I even saw Past in Flames in hand, but it costs 4 of your 5 floating mana, and then you just can't really do anything else.
Cowden has no 3rd land, so no pressure coming for him. Is that Wrath of the Skystrahn?
Maybe board in 1 in case of Empty the Warrens.
It's a 1 of in the sideboard. Yeah, there is an empty, so that's likely why that's in. Unfortunately, it's not going to be very good right now.
I see this so often. Post-sideboard games against combo decks, people just have so few threats and so many answers. And these combo decks are all just built with stuff like that in mind to play like longer games. I mean, even the Storm deck sometimes win with Flage out of the sideboard. I don't think Hafner's playing it, but like that's just a common thing that they do. And a Flage here would just like easily beat Cowden. Easily.
After sacks his Sunbaked Canyon, must have plenty of lands, and he's content to just sit here drawing cards and making land drops. Eventually, he'll rebuild enough resources to go off again.
Yeah.
Cowden finally finds a 3rd land, but he's in a tough spot. Do I tap out to draw 2 cards and find my next threat, or do I wait? Because he can't really tap out on 4 mana to make the Null Drifter and keep it around. But he really needs to get a threat down and start pressuring Hafner and turn on his Stubborn Denial. Because right now, a 4 spike on an instant sorcery is unlikely to be that relevant.
Yeah, he does have consign, so it can protect from the Ruby Medallion. And we know that those are like the choke points, right? The cost reducers are just the place you have to attack.
And 2 lands drawn off of the evoke trigger.
Yeah, he's got to consign this. He needs pressure. If he doesn't consign the evoke ability, then I think he's just gonna let Hafner have too much time. The 4/4 flyer turns on Summoner Knowledge later as well, so this is just a very risky, but I think necessary play to give himself the best chance to win.
And this is the turn. Does Hafner have a setup to combo?
Yeah, he very well could.
Doesn't have that many cards in hand. But if he just has something like a Past in Flames.
He does have Past in Flames in hand, so if he has a cost reducer, Past in Flames, maybe he needs a ritual as well, but just more lands. I just saw 2 fetches in hand, I think a Tarn and a Mesa. Running out of fetchables. Yeah, look at him, he's mad.
Yeah, he's just flooded. Which Cowden can figure out from the fact that he sacrificed the Sunbait Canyon, right?
Well, we are main phase fetching, so maybe we have some plans here with this Past in Flames. Maybe cast Past in Flames, cast Manamorphose, draw a card, try to get something going.
Yeah. It's not like he loses the Past in Flames. It has flashback itself, so he has access to it. So just going to use this for a little bit of value. Maybe if he draws really well, he can get something going. Manamorphose has red. He's breaking out the placards.
Yeah, so I'm draw a ritual. I wonder if he's got like Wish or something, and might want to go get an answer to this Null Drifter somehow. Nope, says go. Gets out the placard, says go. Fish move.
And there's another consign drawn for Cowden.
All right, sack a land. He's got plenty. Take 4, but now, how many Summoner Owls are in hand? At least 2.
I think it's just the one.
Okay, at least 1.
He has an extra ley line, a consign, a Stubborn Denial, and another land in hand, and the Wrath of the Skies.
Yeah, the Wrath of the Skies.
So Cowden's hand is not very good, but neither is Hafner's.
Yeah.
He's going to sack one of these fetch lands to go get a Surveil, try to find something else. He would love another piece of disruption or even another threat, because right now this Null Drifter is a 3-turn clock. Any creature makes it a 2-turn clock.
So Cowden is just fetching all the lands out of his deck to try to essentially increase the likelihood that he draws a spell.
Yeah.
Thanks to the ley line, those were all just kind of tapping for all 5 colors throughout the whole game. And now, with only, I think, 1 Surveil land in the 75 with the Lush Portico because of the domain requirements, you need to play the Grixis one.
Okay. Lightning Bolt can be a piece of disruption and will make sure Cowden can end the game next turn. Hafner going to fall to 6 from this attack. Cowden attacks him to 2 and then finishes him off with the bolt. So that was a perfectly fine draw.
Valakut Awakening is a very interesting card here. Hafner's hand is pretty mid, and this is allowing him a chance to essentially refresh it, and that'll put Nick in a tight spot if he's able to draw like 2 or 3 great cards, but ultimately I think Cowden's just going to sit and wait and try to counter the relevant things on Hafner's turn.
Yeah, when you have Consigned Memory and Bolt to answer Ral and Ruby Medallion, I think it's a lot easier to just force Hafner to commit a lot of mana on his own turn. So here's Ruby Medallion. This will meet Consigned Memory.
Yeah, Cowden considering paying a kicker, or replicate rather, so that there's 2 copies, and he does. Not sure what he's playing around, but anywho, 2 more mana, 4. Manamorphose. Could just stub this and call it a day. Might as well wait, though.
After still has a land drop he can make, so could have access to 2 mana after this. What are you scared for on 2 mana? Great shot to kill the Null Drifter.
Yeah, maybe.
And that's going to happen if you let them.
Okay, mana, sacrifice, bolt, face, game over. Nick Cowden takes it 2-1. Impressive stuff.